This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we are live. Welcome, Colleen.
Hey there.
Um, Colleen, thanks so much. I appreciate you coming on here and doing this with me. I think you're the first one from our group to get on here, and I'm hoping to get some more people. So thanks for doing this, and thanks for volunteering. I know you're excited about it in the first place. So
I am. I'm very excited to be here.
yeah. So Colleen, let's just dive right into it. And like I said, we could just talk. We could be fluid, and we don't need to, be all uh, super professional. You could just talk how you feel, and so we'll dive right into it. I want to know a little bit more about you, and I honestly I haven't gotten a chance to do this one-on-one with you,
Yes.
so this is a great opportunity, I think. So tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and then kind of what your childhood was like. What were you like as a kid? That's kind of what I really want to know.
Okay. So, all right. That was a long time ago, Chris, but here we go.
Right.
Um, my name is Colleen Valadez, and I am a professional organizer. Been doing that for a
Mhm.
while. I've had different careers on the career path, mostly in sales and customer service in the hospitality industry. I was a fitness trainer for 12 years, and then I went into life coaching, spiritual coaching, learned that whole pathway, and then into organizing. So this was the next logical step for me. As
Right.
far as my childhood, again, that was a long time ago. I was born in 1959, Chris,
Oh wow.
1959. Do the math. So I saw that you were going to ask me that, and I started thinking about it, and I said, "Wow, what am I
Mhm.
going to say about my childhood?"
Yeah.
Both my parents were my parents. My mother was from Fresno. My dad was
Hmm.
from some town in Arkansas. I don't really remember where. I never really knew him very well, but they were both laborers. So it makes
Okay.
sense that here I am, cutting through people's
Yeah.
garages and their kitchens and their laundry rooms and that sort of thing. It's in the DNA.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, so I was one of six kids,
Okay.
um, and I'm the middle kid.
Mm.
So we all had active duties. My mom ran kind of a tight ship, and
Yeah.
she worked in the restaurant business and was used to fast-paced, things needing to be right and consistent. So she ran our household like that. She was one of those real strict parents. So
Yeah.
we had some very, really fun times as far as kids, hanging out together. It's certainly different than being an only child. We had lots to do, a lot of chores. But, that's just kind of the way it was back then.
And
Academics
Colleen,
were,
were you
yes, sir.
born here or where were you born?
I was born actually in Olympia, Washington,
Okay.
where they make
And then,
Olympia beer. It's the only
ooh,
beer.
nice. Do you drink that, Colleen?
No, I do not.
No. Uh,
No,
and so
but that
you're
is the capital of Washington,
okay.
Olympia.
Right, right.
Pretty
And so
cool
you were
place.
when you were raised, were you raised in Olympia or was it California?
I was in Olympia until I think we were about 10. My mom
Mhm.
divorced and we moved
Mm.
to a ruddy little town in Tacoma it's a little town called Spanaway in
Mhm.
Tacoma, Washington. So I haven't been in that particular area for a really long time, but that's where I actually did junior high and high school.
Mm.
So then I moved to California right after that. I said, I'm out of here.
So
My
what was the motivation? Like, why'd you decide California?
Well, my older sister lived
Hmm.
here. My mom had kind of shipped her off when she was 13 to go live with my dad, who was out here. And so then she and I were really close. So as soon as I got out of high school, I came to hang out with her and be with her and kind of start a different life. I had different ideas of, um, how things should be and raising your children and all that. So
Hmm.
I just kind of launched into adulthood from there at 18 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
So
that's a big step,
it
especially at an
was.
18 as an 18-year-old, yeah.
It was.
Um,
It was. I got a job at a drugstore called Clark Drugs. It was a long time ago, back on Prairie and Rosecrans.
okay.
And I only did academics. Like I said, we were not pushed to do academics when I was growing up. We were
Hmm.
pushed to do labor work. So I did do some community college, El Camino and
Yeah.
all of that, but I mostly jumped right into a little bit of work. And shortly thereafter, I went into the manufacturing industry, working for a big company called,
Hmm.
oh, what was the name of that company? It'll come back to me when I'm not thinking about it. IDC, Industrial Dynamics Corporation, and it was on
Yeah.
Lomita. And they made the bottling machines to check fill levels for all the beer and Coca-Cola and laundry
Wow.
soaps and stuff like that. So I worked there for a long time. But that was me, I just jumped
Wow.
right into work. I would rather work
Yeah.
than than
How do
anything.
you
So
how do you feel about that now? Because you seem like you turned out all right. So, how do you feel about that now? Like with your kids, do you feel like you want to push them to go to school? Is that something you push, or is it more kind of the route you took?
I think school is important. I
Hmm.
think being focused and disciplined is important, and going to school does help to build discipline and focus for sure.
Yep.
If you struggle with school and you're not getting the proper help, and school, academics isn't for everybody. Not everybody needs one of those kind of um, movement forward into a 2-year or 4-year university. A lot of people are self-taught. There's a lot more homeschoolers, which would drive me crazy if I had to do homeschool. I would not like
Yeah.
that. I
Right.
like I like a routine. I used to like going to school. I used to be
Whoops. We got the phone here.
yeah. I'm just
You
one of
said.
those people
Mhm.
that likes routine and structure. I need to have
Right.
that kind of structure for me to stay focused. Not so
Hmm.
much now, but when I was younger and developing discipline, I was always too also um, a bit of a tomboy and
Oh, okay.
always into athletics. And
Yeah.
I was on the track team and volleyball. I made the varsity volleyball team as a sophomore going into
Wow.
a new high school. So that kind of kept me sane, and it gave me some direction.
Yeah.
Um, so because our life,
Hmm.
growing up was more like do as I tell you to do, and you're going to be okay. It
Yeah.
wasn't. We didn't get a lot of affection or
Right.
um, support that way. There wasn't a lot of
Right.
that in my household, so I had to kind of figure things out on my own. But that gave me a really good leg up was being on the
Yeah.
volleyball and track teams. So I really liked it. But so yes, for school, I think school's important. I think
Hmm.
any sort of education, you got to keep training yourself, and continuing education is definitely the ticket. Whichever
Right.
route you take, it is very important.
Yeah. So you said you were, for the most part, self-taught, and how about for like what you're doing now exactly? Like, how did you learn the skills to be like a professional organizer and help other businesses with their organizing? Did you learn that from someone, or did you do that yourself, or how did you figure that out?
Well, like I said, when I was a kid at a
Hmm.
very early age, I'm talking 5 and 6 years old, I had chores.
Yeah.
And those chores went on for the rest of my life. So I kind of have info read, when I walk into a room, I know what needs to be done. And there's a
Right.
lot of other things to say about it. When I was working for IDC as a young person in my early 20s, I also worked in restaurants and catering.
Hmm.
So I worked for Bristol Farms for many years for their catering department, and I would
Okay.
go all over the South Bay on the weekends and the holidays and that sort of thing. And people would say, "Wow, you're a really good worker. You really know what's going on. Can you do a private party for me?" So I launched off into that too. And that's
Yeah.
all under the umbrella of organizing. So I've had many, many, many years, Chris,
Yeah.
many years of cleaning houses and organizing and clearing clutter and just having kind of like my own ability to
Hmm.
just see things that need to be done. But
Right.
I have to say it does come from an early training as a kid. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important too for I know that a lot of kids aren't going through that now, and kids learn from their parents. How their parents act is how we kind of develop.
Yeah.
we use it and say that felt good, that didn't, or that seems right and that didn't seem right. We
Yeah,
know as kids, what's right and what's wrong. So I think it's important for parents to teach their kids without beating them down or anything, but teaching them how to be responsible about their belongings
for sure. Yeah.
and all of that, because that's how you learn it. And so that's how I learned it, was constant, constant, constant repetition.
Hmm.
And it's something that I can do so easily. And
Right.
I work in not just homes, but also offices, garages. There's a procedure when it comes to getting things done.
Yeah.
So,
So Colleen, I have another question for you.
yes, sir.
Now that you're doing what you're doing during this time, I know it's kind of a interesting time with the whole Corona thing going on. What would you say that your work-life balance looks like right now with everything that's happening?
That's a really good question because,
Hmm.
I do other things besides under the organizing umbrella.
Yeah.
I organize entrepreneurs and help them and grow their business and expand. And you and I are in the Beach District Entrepreneurial Group together.
Hmm.
We've got 22 networking professionals all doing something different, helping each other to grow and expand and find new clients and customers all the time.
Hmm.
So that's one thing that I'm still doing, and we're doing that
Yeah.
from a virtual level.
Right.
But I'm staying in touch with all my clients still, and I'm getting ready to offer a 30-day free challenge to get organized.
Wow.
Yeah, so I haven't rolled it out yet. It's just in the making right now. I'm
Okay.
using our IT guy, Albert
Nice.
Medina, to help me with that. But we will be rolling that out and to get some sort of a new structure going, a new concept of thinking. And I know that for a fact. I just can't even imagine how crazy everybody's going, where suddenly, mom and dad are turning into stay-at-home working parents, which I know some people already did that, but in addition to that, becoming homeschool teachers and
Hmm.
cleaning the house, organizing the house, installing systems, creating new habits for the family. I just know that a lot of people are going crazy with this, going, "Oh my
For
God,
sure.
I don't know what I'm doing, or how can I do this better?" And
Yeah.
I don't know how to fold this in with that. And it's just a lot of shifting, a lot of different role
Hmm.
playing, a lot of different, and probably tons and tons and tons of interruptions, I'm sure. So,
And have you figured out a way to kind of like get into that virtually, or like what's the way you're kind of like tackling those right now?
yes. So right now, I'm in communication with my clients via email,
Yeah.
texting, and telephone calls, asking them if they need help, how are things going. I'm actually even sending things into the mail for them to
Oh wow.
receive another line of communication. I'm sending little surprises like scratch off tickets and saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, we're all taking a risk together. Scratch this ticket off. Maybe you'll make some money." Little cute things like that. But
Nice.
um, I think that doing this 30-day challenge will be really fun because it's only 15 minutes a day. So I'm going to
Okay.
hold them accountable and let them have a partner. Might be somebody new, might be somebody in the household. I'm not sure yet how they feel about it, but we're going to go down that road
Okay.
and see if we can get people to invest 15 minutes a day to incorporate and install a
Hmm.
new system, a new habit, and maybe even involve the kids. Where say, "Hey, kids, we're on a timer, 15 minutes. Our organizer told us to do this today. Today's Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. We're going to do this. We're going to do that." And I think it'll launch off onto new habits, new programs, new ideas, and they might even say, "Wow, we only had 15 minutes to do that, but we decided to extend it into 30," which they're totally
Yeah.
able to do. But I think all your success is going to depend on your ability to organize yourself, to organize your health,
Right.
to organize your thinking, to organize, your home, your office, your systems that are all in place, to
Yeah.
organize yourself as a role model for your children and your family. What messages are you sending off? So you've got to get organized. Everybody
Yeah.
needs to be not perfect and certainly not compulsive about it, but um, this is the first
Colleen,
step to take. Yes, sir.
what would you say is like the most fulfilling and like best part of what you do? Because I'm sure like you're getting in there and you're actually setting people up to, or helping people restructure their stuff and their mindset, and even kind of just giving them the tools so that they could do it on their own. What's like the best part
Yeah,
about it? Like, do you feel
yeah.
like, um,
I think, okay, so I'm going to back up just for a second here. Back when
okay.
I was a fitness trainer for 12 years, and I was in my late 30s and all the way up to the time I was 50. I was
Hmm.
doing fitness training, and during that time frame, I got married and had a baby. I had my son when I was 45 years old.
Yeah.
And so I'm an older parent, and it was really funny because back then, working with people on a one-on-one level, and then I went into group training and all of that, listening to people and
Yeah.
understanding that their way of thinking, what you're thinking drives, all results, all action, all manifestation. And I saw that there was a collective consciousness of anxiety for
Hmm.
everybody on some
Okay.
level. So I went into deep studies on that for about 10 years and bumped into some really good spiritual masters like Eckhart Tolle, Abraham Hicks,
Hmm.
Gary Zukav. Those are the
And
top three that I've worked with.
Colleen, when you say like anxiety, for like conscious anxiety, what do you mean exactly?
So anxiety can only exist in the past and the future.
Right.
So all the uncertainty that we're all facing right now, we're all looking into the future and saying, "Oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to our community?
Right.
What's going to happen to our globe?" And it
Mm.
causes a lot of unnecessary anxiety. If we could just stay in the present moment and just enjoy what you're doing right now, and
Yeah.
right now in this very moment, nothing's wrong. In this very moment, nothing's wrong. But we're so used to jumping ahead and trying to figure everything out and lay the groundwork by jumping ahead. And we don't really need to do that right now. We need to just kind of chill a bit.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that I enjoy the most is teaching people how to think about things. So if I go into someone's home and they're full of anxiety because they can't manage their belongings, I will say something really calming like, this is a sign that it's easy to have abundance.
Right.
We're just looking at some abundance that has come in. There's so much that has come in that it
Hmm.
has caused a little bit of chaos because we're not managing the abundance. But we
Right.
have so much. We have so much that we have our fingertips at. It's just a matter of
Right.
managing it and then donating when you're not using the things that are no longer serving you,
Yeah.
and optimizing your household and figuring out, okay, I want more stuff to come in, but other stuff needs to go out. So we got to have that flow and install that
Right.
flow. So I think that's kind of to answer your question, that's what I like the most is, and of course, to see something just a radical mess.
Right.
And in 3 or 4 hours, turn it around where the person walks in and goes, "What? How did that happen?
Yeah.
How did you do that? How did you clear all that stuff out?" It's
Right.
and that's another thing that I love is that before and after effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the journey every day too. It's a lot of fun. I
Right.
love the before and after.
What do you do? And I think that's super interesting that you provide that, openness to that. You open their minds to kind of what's going on there with the anxiety. Past can only happen in the past, and it can only happen in the future.
Future,
What do
yeah.
you do for yourself to remind yourself of that? Because that's super interesting to me. There's someone like you that teaches and helps teach that to other people. But what do you do for yourself on there? Like, how do you, um, is there something you consciously do on like a regular basis that to work on your own mindset so that you can help your clients? Um, you know,
This is a really fascinating question, Chris,
hmm.
and probably the most important question you're going to ask me today.
Right.
Um, yes, I work on my mindset every day because
Nice.
based on how you come into the world and how you're raised, you have a belief system,
Yeah.
and whether you believe in God or the greater force that's out there, the universal forces of manifestation, we're all co-creating together.
Hmm.
And if you don't get taught that when you're a child and you're taught something that's probably not optimal,
Yeah.
it takes years to get out of that. You have to first wake up to it and understand that you can be the change and you can do things differently if you want. You have the power to do it. And
Hmm.
luckily for me, when I was fitness training and doing all that spiritual study, I did discover all of that. And so I've been spending the last 10, 15 years of fine tuning my thinking,
Yeah.
fine tuning my belief system, finding out where the weaknesses in the thinking, the weakness in the belief system is, where did it come from, and let's move on. Let's create
Yeah.
something better. Let's try this. Let's try to think this way. So yes, I also advise people to be the watcher of your thoughts. Once you start practicing, and anything is just a repetition of doing something over and over, when you start watching your thoughts, you will catch yourself
Yeah.
going down the road that's not good, going down the dark side, going down the
Sure.
scary side, going down that one that's not helpful, and you have to just stop yourself and go, whoop, hold on,
Yeah.
let me rein this in.
And what I've noticed is it's kind of like a little bit of like a muscle that
Yep.
you need to train. So what I do is I meditate, I go on runs, clear my mind, and just allow myself clarity so that I could watch that. What do you do? Do anything like that, or do you read books that maybe help refine or work that muscle?
Um, any sort of repetition in movement. So you just mentioned something that's really helpful.
Hmm.
When you run and there's a repetitive sound within and within the muscles and the mind together, it puts you in a meditative state and
Yeah.
answers come then. So I used to get on back in when I was in my 20s, I'd get on one of the core fitness training machines or whatever, one of the any sort of running machine
Like a
or
elliptical or something.
elliptical trainer, stair stepper,
Yeah.
whatever. And that repetition
Hmm.
calms the
Okay.
mind. And I would be up there on that machine, and my mind would suddenly just go into this quiet space, and answers
Yeah.
would come, ideas come, they start to flourish. So I think that's what's really important is if you can't do guided meditation to quiet the noise, it is very important to do something like what you just said, even an act of rowing or being on a bicycle. And that means you're not talking to other people, though. You're not out on a family excursion riding your bike going, hey, look at that dog, or look at that fabulous tree or that flower or whatever. Or look at the butterflies. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're alone
Hmm.
and you've got that repetitive movement. Even musicians probably have that. I'm not musically inclined, but I could imagine playing the piano and the drums and the guitar, they probably get in that meditative state and have answers flourish during that
Yeah.
time. So I think it's really important for everybody to know that doing something like that alone will allow you to hear what you're saying to yourself.
Right.
And quieting your mind is really, really, really important, especially now, more than ever now,
Do you
you
have any
know.
books that you've read that have like kind of changed your mindset, or like is there one that might have opened your mind to all this stuff? Because for me at
Yes.
least, I know there was one that just really it took off for me, but I'm
What's
curious.
yours? I want to hear yours first.
Mine was when I was 18 years old. It was my first week working in an insurance agency. My boss gave me a book called "See You at the Top." It's by Zig Ziglar.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Great book. It completely changed my life. I was never a big reader. He gave it to me. He told me read. This is my first week on the job too, so I was a little nervous. And he said, read the first chapter, and then tomorrow I'm going to ask you what it was about. So you have to tell me. So I read the full chapter, and I was hooked. And that was my first, experience with like self-help and exploring the mind and the power of the mind. And from there is just a snowball. I just started reading more and more and just learning more. But yeah, what about you, Colleen? Is there anything specifically that was like a game
Yes,
changer?
yes. There's three authors, and I already mentioned all three of them. One is
Hmm.
Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle. He wrote
Okay.
The Power of Now and the New Earth.
Yeah.
So those were things that I kind of trained with a long time ago. And then
Hmm.
Gary Zukav wrote several books. The first one was The Seat of the Soul. Um, and then he wrote 3 or 4 other ones after that. But one of them is about your emotions. I'm sorry, I can't remember the title right now. I'll look it up
Hmm.
while we're talking here. But that book rattled me, I mean, to the core because
Yeah.
he explains how to get underneath your emotions and figure out what they mean.
Hmm.
So I thought that was really incredibly interesting. And the third one is Esther Hicks.
Okay.
And there's actually one more too, Think and Grow Rich. Everybody knows that book, but
Classic.
Abraham Hicks has written several books.
Hmm.
Right now, they're kind of at the top of my mind because the go-to is I have a membership with them. I subscribe to their CDs and I listen to them on YouTube every day. So you can get a pretty good dose of any of these people nowadays on YouTube.
Yeah.
Um,
So, Colleen, another question for you. All this mindset work that you do for yourself, do you feel like it's translated well within, business relationships? And because you're kind of, I look up to you as kind of a relationship animal at this point, I would say, because you're great at networking, you're great at building those relationships, and I recognize it. Do you feel like the mindset that you've worked on throughout those years has helped with those relationships?
yeah, I think you have to kind of go through a lot of havoc, and
Hmm.
gets pulled through the mud quite a few times and before you can really understand what other people are going through. And I've had
Yeah.
my share of it. Um, so yes, I mean I'm pretty humble and I get what it's like to go without and I also get what it's like to achieve. So
Right.
I've been there back and forth more than certainly one time. I was in sales for many, many years, and one of the things that makes us great salespeople is to really be listening.
Yeah.
You listen to what people want, listen to what they need, and focus on that and nothing else. Let me
Right.
get you what you need. I'm just looking at Gary Zukav's book here. This is a really
Oh, nice.
a touching book. It's called The Heart of the
Okay, let me
Soul.
write this down.
The Heart of the Soul. This is a phenomenal book. If you want to understand what your emotions are about, you
Yeah.
read this book and you're gonna go,
Gary
wow,
Gary
Gary
Zook
Zukav,
Zukav
Zukav, and
AV.
Linda Francis is his partner. So he has some phenomenal books, as does Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle's
Hmm.
on YouTube right now talking about the condition of our planet, and
Yeah.
so is Abraham Hicks. So those are the
Okay.
top three. But yeah, so find out what people need. Find
Yeah.
out what they need. Find out what they need. I always ask these 2 questions, and you've heard me say this, Chris.
Yeah.
What do you need more of, and what do you need less of? A lot of times people will say, I don't know what I need more of, and I'll say, well, what do you need less of? And they'll say, oh, that's the easy one. And so then there's the answer. I need a lot less stress. I need a lot less havoc in my life. I need a lot less
Right.
clutter in my household. And I mean, I need a lot less responsibility.
Hmm.
Then you go, okay, now let's go to the other side of that. What does that look like? How are we going to get you that?
Right.
So yeah,
And what about sustaining those relationships? So that's a great, key to kind of getting in and building those relationships and selling them on kind of what they need and what they don't need. And what about like sustaining them long term? What would
so
you say?
this is what sustaining is about is trust.
Yeah.
Um, if I do something for you and you know I'm a good person and you know that I'm going to do my best to get you what you need, take care of
Hmm.
you, and introduce you to people that I know would be good for you down the road, and I come back to you and I say, hey, can you talk to me for a minute? I think you're going to say yes.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's what I do is I find the best people that I can to introduce you, to help you, to expand in whatever way you need. And I think that's kind of one of the special things about coming from a big family, is like, oh, this person is good at this and this person's good at that. And oh,
Hmm.
you should know this person, and you should know that person. And so I think
Yeah.
that's really what it's about is trust, and especially going into people's houses. You can't just walk into someone's house and have them trust you out of the gate. You got to build that
Right.
trust. And once that's
Right.
there, I think that's the basis of building, solid foundation in relationships and sustaining those relationships
Hmm.
is building that trust first, listening for them, listening to what they're saying, what they need, and then building that trust and then staying in communication in whatever form is best for them, whether it's text or, emails, letters, cards in the mail,
Right.
um, that sort of thing, and continually saying, hey, how you doing now? What do you need now? What can I do for you? And
Sure.
um, and that's just a natural course of trust and building relationships.
Yeah.
So I hope I answered that.
No, no, you did. That's great. I think I 100% agree. I think in the long run, looking at just even the relationships that I've maintained, um, it's all based off trust.
Yeah.
So yeah, Colleen, do you have a particular piece of advice that you would say is like the best piece of advice you've ever gotten from someone with business related?
Business related. Um, I've gotten lots and lots of advice over the course of my lifetime, but
Hmm.
the advice that you resonate with is what you already know within. So,
Hmm. Interesting.
building your character, your integrity, and staying disciplined is probably
Yeah.
what resonates for me. Those are the top three: is your character, your integrity, and your building on your discipline. It's going to take you a long way, no
Where
matter which direction you go in, no matter what subject matter you're on, whether it's personal or business.
where did you feel like you that came from? Was it like a family member or somebody you looked up to and like a business figure, or was it, something you just um, stumbled upon?
Um, I think that's just recognizing who I was when I was growing up, that those were the core values for me.
Hmm.
And we know within anyway. So when we see it in others, I always had a fondness for Abraham Lincoln. I always thought he
Interesting.
was like, somebody asked me once, they go, if you were on your deathbed and uh, you got to have your last moments, with
Hmm.
anybody that you could talk to, who would it be? I said, oh, let's see. And I know at least I said Jesus was one, and the second was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
And they said, well, why'd you pick Abraham Lincoln? I said, he freed the slaves. Are you kidding me? The guy went beyond all odds. He put his life on the line to do what he knew was right. And he said, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Feel the fear, do it anyway. So I really resonate with that you can't go backwards, and you can't not do what you know you're supposed to do. You have to
Hmm.
do it. You just have to do
Right.
it. So jump in and just do it, and don't procrastinate. Do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So Colleen, another question for you. What advice would you have for someone that's, considering starting a business? They're, on the fence, but they just need something to push them over. What piece of advice would you give them if they're day one about to start a business?
okay. Um, if they're on the fence and they're thinking about it, first off, they're probably thinking on it from multi-dimensional levels, but
Hmm.
and asking themselves a lot of questions. But I'm here to tell you, if you're thinking about starting a business that you love, number one, doing
Right.
something that you love, the basis of it is something that you love. Um, if your mind can think it, then you can achieve it and you can have it. You can have it all. And it's just a matter of networking and getting to those right people that are going to take you to that next step, next step, next step, next step. And that's the funnest part, actually, because
Yeah.
you and I know this as entrepreneurs ourselves for many years. Um, there are so many people out there that
Hmm.
will take you on the next step and the next step and the next step. And we know who they all are. We know who all the really good ones are. We know where to go. We know how to get it done, and we know how to go over it, around it, through it, whatever it takes to get it done. you should be doing what you love. And I know a lot of people will say, I love the work I do, but I don't love working on my business. Even that is an easy thing to get around because we know the people that can help you to do that part. You don't have to do everything by yourself. And
Right.
there's a reason that we, optimize on the outsourcing so that
Sure.
you can be freed up to do that one thing that you really love or those three things, whatever they are. And so if you can think it, if you can dream it, if you can imagine it, then it can come true. It's probably already on its way anyway, so you might as well jump in.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's a great answer. I think there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle as well because your actions need to match whatever ambition you're speaking out into the world. So if you want to, sorry about that.
That's
If you
okay.
want, if you want to, build that $1 million business, you can't be sitting around eating potato chips, hanging out. You got to go and match that ambition. If not, it's going to be unfulfilling, and you're going to feel, it's going to make you feel bad. So,
Yeah, one
um,
of the things that's
yeah.
really, really, really important about that is we need to look for action steps that come with inspiration behind it.
Mm,
So enthusiasm takes you a long way. Inspiration, motivation. If you're not motivated, then there's an obstacle there, and you owe it to yourself to figure out what it is.
yeah.
So a lot of people are action driven, task masters, and they'll say if you don't take action, you're not going to get anywhere. Um, we don't want to uh, force. There's a book out there called Power versus Force,
Yeah.
and we want to have that ease and flow of natural power, but we don't want to force things to happen. We want to
Right.
be inspired. So we want to take our action steps when there's inspiration behind it.
Hmm.
So a lot of times it is best to sit down and just be okay with doing nothing for a while until the answers come. And
Yeah.
then there's like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Then there's inspiration behind it. Learn that
Yeah.
I learned that from Esther Hicks. So
Yeah. That's a great one.
there's a big talk about inspiration behind your action. And I would
Yeah.
suggest that anybody that's confused about any of that, get on YouTube and listen to her talk about that because it's
Yeah.
awesome, an awesome topic. And
Hmm.
we want things to naturally happen and we want answers to naturally come. But then when they do come and it's a good thing, then you want to jump on it, and stay focused on that
Colleen,
step.
would you say that's easier said than done? Because I, for example, have noticed there's times where I am lacking a little bit of motivation or inspiration and or energy or whatever it is, and I'll sit there and I'll be like I need to be doing something right now, especially when it's your own business. You feel like you always got to be doing something.
Well,
How
I
do you feel
think,
about that?
and I can totally resonate with that because I'm one of those people that always feels that I need to be doing something too. But it's
Hmm.
kind of because I have a natural high speed of energy. Um, but but I think there's a great amount
Hmm.
of understanding that needs to be done when it comes to what what does that mean that I feel like I always need to be doing something? Is there a
Yeah.
is there a I have to prove myself? Is there at the bottom of it? At the bottom of it for everybody, all of us, no matter how young or old you are or where you come from, doesn't matter. When people and we all have some level of it, but some more than others, obviously. But there's a worthiness thing at the base of that, to
Yeah.
where overachievers, there's a worthiness thing there. Do I deserve this? I got to prove that I deserve this. Overachievers are constantly doing that. And
So it's
we're
like a
not,
self-image type of thing. Is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
we're, yeah, we're not here to earn things.
Hmm.
We're here to enjoy,
Right.
enjoy the process. Do what you love and love what you're doing. Enjoy
Hmm.
the process. Watch your thoughts. If you just watch your thoughts, you're going to learn so much about yourself.
Right.
Because a lot of times you don't really notice that you have this inner dialogue that's going on that's promoting the I have to keep going, I have to keep doing this, I've got to do this, I have to do that. And there's a lot of resistance in talk like that. And it takes some understanding first. Once you hear it and understand it, then you can't go back to it. You can't go back to your old way of thinking. And so new thinking is fascinating.
Definitely.
When you learn that you've been thinking a certain way, even though you're taking a lot of action and you're pushing through a lot of things and you're a really nice person and you're out there doing all these things, being productive and all that. Yes, that's great. But also learning how you think and finding out to relax into your thinking and watch your thoughts,
Yeah.
watch what you're thinking and go, oh, wow, I just heard myself say something really negative about myself.
Right. Right.
You don't really know until you really slow down and listen. So it's okay to feel like that, Chris, when you're like saying, what should I be doing next? What should I do next?
Yeah.
Maybe sit and journal. And what I do is
Hmm.
I talk to my inner self and I say, what is the next logical thing that I should be doing?
Yeah.
What would make sense for me? And then wait for that answer to come and then jump on with that inspiration behind it. And you'll know if you can relax. And what's really funny? When you're out driving, which I know a lot of us aren't driving as much as we were before, but
Yeah.
watch those personalized license plates that pull out in front of you. That's always a message for you. It's the weirdest thing. When you're doubting something,
That's
this
funny.
personalized license plate will come right out with you and it'll say something like, have faith
Yeah.
or love faith or something like that will come out or ease up, or
That's so
shut
funny.
up, sit down and hold on or brace yourself or something like that will come forward and you go, oh,
Yeah.
that's weird. So watch those plates when you're out on the road.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that you say that. Actually, I feel like it was just probably a couple months ago, something very similar like that happened to me. It was kind of a personal thing, but I remember reading it and I saw a license plate, or it was actually like a little sticker on the back of somebody's car. And I
Yep.
remember being like, wow, that is a message from God for me.
Yep.
That's my
Yep.
belief. But
They
um,
always come that way. That's how they touch
yeah,
down and touch you on the shoulder. And it's again, you got to pay attention and just ease up a little bit and you'll say, "Oh my God, that was weird how that happened." And there's no such thing as coincidences, and we're all hearing this often.
right.
Synchronicity is always in force. And so if you can relax a little bit, you'll see that things will just start to naturally line up for you. And especially in the entrepreneurial world, you will start meeting the people that are providing you with so much great information and getting you to that next step and helping you to gain that confidence and that sense of ease that we're all looking for. And there's nothing more exciting than, working on what you love to work on and making money doing it. And it
Right.
just starts coming in together like that. And then all of a sudden you feel like everything is effortless and you could just keep working forever and you could just
Yeah.
you help so many people and you're like, what's going on? Why is this
Life
so fabulous all of a
starts to
sudden?
click. Everything starts to click.
That's right.
Colleen, do you have a quote that you live by that you've maybe resonated with in life, or something that you live by that is stuck with you?
Okay, so for my organizing business, I pick one of those, and you've heard me say this, Chris, in our meetings. I say I'm gonna give you two things. One is it's better to donate than
Hmm.
accumulate. So what does
I
that
like
mean? It's
it.
better to donate than accumulate. It's better to give. It's great to have things coming in, but
Hmm.
we want to keep that flow going, the motion of flow, giving and receiving. So it's way easier for us to give to others than what we are aware when it comes to our belongings and getting rid of the things that we don't need. There are so many people out there that don't have nearly the experiences and the items that you may have. So that's the first thing I ask people to think of. when we're decluttering, and that is, think about how many people would love to have and share some of the stuff that you've been in receivership of. So it's better to donate than to accumulate. And then the
I like
other,
it.
thank you. And the other thing is, there's a saying that Abraham Lincoln, he had lots of them, by the way. I was
I
looking on,
know.
when you asked me, I knew you were going to ask me this, so I said, oh, it's got to be something with Abraham Lincoln. Um, and I came across one that I just, out of all the things he said, I was like, oh my
Hmm.
God, this is so me. So he said, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree,
Hmm.
I'm going to spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe.
Facts. Yep.
So what does that mean? It means get out ahead of it, prepare for it, get prepared, be proactive, and be prepared.
Yeah.
So, and plan, see the end in mind, like athletes do, they see the end in mind, and a lot of times they just sit and prepare mentally first. So that's how I see that sign, that tagline that he said, that he would prepare 4 hours before he'd even take any action. So I
Yeah.
love that. I just love that one of him. So thank you for
Yeah.
posing that question to me,
That's a
because
great
I
one.
had fun looking that up.
That's a great one. I think, Colleen, what do you do stuff in your business? Like, for example, I try to do that and as best as possible. I'm not perfect at it in any way, but like before I start my day in the morning, I'll write out how I want my day to go, and like goals I have for the day, and then I'll set aside those first 10, 15 minutes, even though it feels like I should already get going, start answering emails, but I sit there and I'll do that for 10 to 15 minutes. Do you do anything similar to that, or anything to kind of get you prepared?
Yes. First off, I adore calendars and I love making lists. And I think that's one of the best ways to be organized, is to write things down, but also, yes, I set intention. So,
Hmm.
and I was talking to one of my groups about intention setting through segments of your day. So you just mentioned a segment of your day. So you get up and maybe your first segment is, a bathroom routine, whatever that might be. The second segment is going out into the kitchen and doing some supplements or coffee, whatever direction you go in there. And then the third segment is to sit down and set your intention for the day. Now,
Yeah.
whether you set that intention in writing, or whether you sit and meditate and just quiet your mind and say, I just know that this day is going to be fabulous, and I'm going to, after I meditate for 15 minutes, I'm going to set my list up of what I want to see happen,
Hmm.
what I expect to see happen, and then I'm going to set that intention, so, and then you proceed on with the day. So yes, I think it's very important to set intention through writing. Not everybody likes doing that. Some people like to type. Some people just like to talk about it, and that's sufficient for them. But I do like to see it on the paper, and I have huge things on my wall that I make lists on my wall, whether it's the list that I have to do or something that I'm going to assign to someone else for them to do, and I check it off, throughout
Yeah.
the. So
I
yeah,
think
I think that's
there's even studies that show that checking it off or highlighting it, like once it's done, it actually is a more fulfilling feeling. And I think getting it on a physical piece of paper allows it to be a physical thing instead of just a thought that could disappear, or could be, you could forget about it, could change.
yeah. And
You know,
the way that the our day timers are set up now, and the artwork on everything, the papers that we use, there's so many incredible different sources of things to use. I know a lot of people really love the bullet journals.
hmm,
I don't know if you've
interesting.
ever heard of a bullet journal, but it has a certain formula, and
Yeah,
there are so many people out there producing different kinds of journals, day timers, notebooks, and just, it's a plethora. The choices are endless of how you can use those things.
yeah,
And the things that people like to draw into their day timers or their journals, and the all the different types of stickers and artwork, and
hmm,
the different questions that these things pose to you every day, where it's a guided, calendar every day, where it's asking you questions, and it
Yeah, that's awesome.
gives you some direction and some other things to think about out of the box. So
Right.
yes, I think all that stuff is very, very important, and I love making lists, and I love checking it off.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to learn how to be proactive and not to be in fear of things not turning out right. Just, this is where we have a lot of perfectionists on the planet, and which also causes a lot of procrastination. So
Right.
that's one of the things that we have to work with quite often. But yes, I'm all for those lists and checking it off.
Nice. I love it. Well, Colleen, I think we got to wrap it up, but I wanted to thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on, and um, great pieces of advice and great content. So
Awesome.
hopefully,
Thank you.
hopefully this helps somebody out there, that's somebody that's thinking about starting a business or is already started their business, and they could hear some great stuff from you. So thank you, Colleen. I
Yes, if
really appreciate
anybody
it.
has any questions for me, they can find me at
Yeah,
clearly-organized.com.
cool. And
Colleen Valadez.
we'll drop it in the description on the video
Awesome.
when we post it. So thank you,
Thank you,
Colleen. I
Chris.
appreciate it.
All
Okay,
right, you
we'll
have a
talk to you
fabulous
soon.
day.
You too. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.